Hello guys, welcome back to Conversations with the Vibe Enthusiast, where we are talking about environmental sustainability, culture, and the future of our planet. Today I'm here with Rayna Carter, a mechanical engineer major, age 24, a junior at Howard University. Tell them a little bit more about yourself.
My name is Rayna Carter. I am a mechanical engineering major and a mathematics minor. I'm from Berkeley, California, and I've always been really interested in STEM. And like STEM related fields.
Okay, cool. So, you said you're from Berkeley, California. How do you think that you growing up in Berkeley impacted your relationship with the environment?
Sure. So Berkeley is a really cool area because it's like half city and like half really nature. Like you could just be in the forest like within 15 minutes. So I think that really impacted the way I grew up because I grew up going on hikes. Finding cool like watering holes to jump into, or like going to like the local lake. So that was really cool growing up. And also in my education, we grew up doing a lot of projects like based on the environment. So we did a lot of learning about our food and where it comes from and how it impacts our bodies. And then we also had like a lot of gardening classes, a lot of cooking classes. So I became really in tune with the environment and specifically how food impacts our bodies and the importance of the environment. Also, growing up in California, we've been impacted a lot by like climate change in terms of like forest fires, especially. So in addition to forest fires, also the drought. There's like a really big drought going on in California right now. So I've been really in tune with climate change and the environment and how that can impact an individual specifically and things you can do to combat it. So I've grown up learning about reducing, reusing, and recycling, about taking short showers, about the importance of like taking care of where you live.
Yeah. And you were speaking about like some of the projects that you guys worked on. Could you speak a little bit more about like one of your favorite ones that you got to do?
Like when I was growing up?
Yeah.
I have a few. A lot of them had to do with like growing our own food and like preparing a meal and eating it. So when I was in 5th grade, we had this like gardening project where we like grew like carrots, lettuce, and I think celery from like scratch, and like we watered it, we watched it grow, we learned about like the produce with our like volunteer gardening teacher. Then at the end, we like were able to chop it all up and put it in like a huge salad, and like we all like had a little bit of the salad, and it was really cool to eat something that everyone had a hand in producing.
Yeah. So like you were able to learn not only how we treat the environment impacts our livelihoods, but also how like the changes in the environment directly impact our livelihood as well. So you've seen like the whole cycle.
I've seen the whole cycle.
Yeah. That's
really
that's really interesting. Next question is
Okay.
about your major.
Yeah.
So mechanical engineering major, mathematics minor, and do you have any interest in environmental sustainability?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like mechanical engineering can't exist without a focus on environmental sustainability, especially in this day and age. I feel like our environment can't handle any more like innovations in cars, innovations in our like mobile devices that impact the environment any further. Like any more damage and we're basically done. So in my studies, I like to focus a lot on environmental sustainability, specifically how the products that I design or make use the least amount of materials as possible, or either use recycled materials, and sustainability in the way that they're produced in terms of like supply chain things. So
Yeah.
like where these products come from, how they're made, if the devices that are making or producing these metals that we use in our products, if those devices are running in a sustainable way. Like sustainability has to be included in the process from the beginning to the end. And that's something that I really focus on in my major and in mechanical engineering.
Okay. And I want to like counteract that and talk about like what I'm studying, how like we kind of take the products that you make and like inform the public about, you know, what they are, how cool they are, how they're going to change the world.
Yeah.
And like this summer, a lot of backlash that we got from like, well, I worked with electric vehicles, trying to like promote and market those. A lot of backlash that we got from the community was that we don't really like the fact that it's sustainable. We don't think it's cool. We don't think it's fly. We don't think it's hip. And so how do you think like a mechanical engineer would take that into consideration and like trying to make these devices not only like super efficient and like sustainable and good for the planet, but also like cool?
I feel like in terms of cool, like people really like the way things look. So like making it look cool, making it look hip. But also aside from that, I think one of the most important things to get people to like hop on this like trend of being sustainable and things like that is to make it trendy, make it cool. So I think one of the keys to that is like giving people incentives. So like making the devices that we produce or like the cars that we make, like making it help people out in a way. So like, you know, we've had like issues with like fluctuating gas prices. I know people don't like that, which has made people think about electric vehicles. Like people had to get something out of the products that we make, and that's the only way like the culture and like feelings around sustainability will shift in the country. So within engineering, definitely like making sure we build in people's like wants and needs, and like add some incentive.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's exactly what we did. That's how we try to combat that issue. On the PR and marketing team, we kind of like highlighted those incentives and highlighted the differences, like the new capabilities of the new vehicles. But I was like kind of thinking about like you know how you're talking about, okay, there's these products like super sustainable products, like products that probably produce 0 carbon emissions, and then there's probably products that consumers like a little bit more that produce a little bit, you know, that are a little bit worse for the environment.
Right.
When you're a mechanical engineer, like how do you decide what materials are best to use for the complete end product?
That's tricky. So with my little stunt in consumer electronics, this was like a big thing between which material to use. We are mostly focused on things like mechanical properties, like is it strong enough? Is it elastic enough? Is it ductile enough? All the decisions having to do with like which material we used, aside from like those specific engineering properties, were up to you guys. We're up to PR. Like you guys made those decisions and then told us, and then like we rolled with it. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like that was like definitely out of the realm of engineering.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that is interesting to know. So when it comes to making new products, when it comes to like innovating the way that we do life, you guys are just focused on like what is the best like possible product we can make.
Yeah, we
with
just
our materials.
Yeah, we focus on like making the products. Like you guys think about like what can we sell, how can we sell it, and you're like and then we're focused on we need to make this sustainable, we need to make this like functional, and we make a product and you guys are like, this looks lame, no one's gonna buy this. right So like you guys relay that information to us, and
yeah, that's why like I'm doing these interviews, is to like connect both sides. There's the people who are super knowledgeable. Well, everyone's super knowledgeable in their own field, but in order for us to like shift the culture in the US, we all have to come together, bring all of our talents together to promote one streamlined message, and then following with like all of the innovations that you guys make, and then me being like, yo, this is so cool, y'all need it, let me tell you why y'all need it. Boom boom boom. So yeah,
100%. I think this issue is definitely an interdisciplinary one. Like a lot of people just focus on like research, all these solutions. To be honest, the engineering world has the solutions we need.
ooh,
They're there. Like, have you ever heard of, so we have solar power as like a form of renewable energy. Like, have you heard that like if we had a square mile of like solar panels, we can power the whole country?
wow. And so what is this barrier? We must find out.
The barrier is, I don't know, no one wants to give up the land, we can't get it approved by the government, then we need what? political science majors, we need people in politics, we need people, and then we need to get a law passed, we need to buy the land, we need people to vote for it. People don't even go out and vote.
Yeah.
And then it's super polarized, the issue. We just deal with the facts and we have the solutions. And another interesting thing is, did you know that a lot of innovations have been made in nuclear science and nuclear research as forms of renewable energy, but whenever we hear nuclear, the public freaks out. They think of bombs, they think of it being weaponized, but in reality it can really be the future of renewable energy. So that's where PR comes in and marketing comes in to kind of mitigate that fear that people have,
right,
or shift the public opinion.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't feel like the fields are connecting. The barrier to entry, right? You know that for the public to know about the innovations in mechanical engineering and how they can save the planet are just communication strategies away. All you need is a strategic communication plan and everybody will be on board. But the fact that there's the gap between the two is my biggest concern. From my perspective, working on the business side of things and the communication side of things, it's more than just, okay, we have the solution. It's okay, how are we gonna make money?
Right.
We don't care about the solution if it's not gonna meet our demands, if it's not gonna meet our consumers' demands, if it's not gonna meet our financial demands, if it's not gonna meet these quotas.
Right.
And so I feel we have to shift, shift the narrative in the US away from everything being focused on financial gain, and focus more on creating a better life for the future.
No, 100%. I feel building off that, building a better life for the future, like I said, people aren't gonna go for this, even if they're being constantly marketed, unless they see how it specifically impacts them.
Right.
Heck, it can impact their cousin, it can impact their mother, their friend, but some people really won't get the message until they wake up in the morning and see the ash on their car from the forest fires, until they see the orange skies that look like an apocalypse. Waking up to that at 10 a.m. and having the whole sky be orange because of forest fires, and having masks before a pandemic even hit. My house was stopped with N95s because of forest fires.
What?
Yes. School being canceled because of forest fires. Having to take shorter showers because of drought my whole childhood. Until you experience those things firsthand, you're also probably not going to be convinced.
Yeah.
So that's my fear, that by the time people really wake up, it might be too late.
Yeah. I want to add on to that, how in my community we've experienced it firsthand and people still don't care. We've had multiple oil spills in our ocean, to the point where we couldn't eat the food that the fishermen caught, and even when it was safe to eat, we were getting cautionary notices, if you eat this, you could possibly get cancer in 10 to 15 years. And no, literally. And we're I live probably 20 miles from a power plant, probably a bit further, I would say 15 minutes driving, and when you go to the city with the power plant, smog.
Right.
The entire city is smog. There are people, all of the kids there have asthma, have eczema, have all of these health problems stemming directly from that power plant.
Right.
And so we're living in this, and people are just not aware of how it's impacting them directly, I guess, or they don't know that there's a different world out there, there's a solution to it. They think this is life and that's just how it has to be. So I really find that interesting, how we come from two completely different places, and we've seen the impacts that climate change, and how companies, or for me it's companies, companies. For you that's just climate change, but how the environment impacts the community and how the community responds.
Right.
We didn't respond.
Right.
Y'all responded, and that's why you're so aware of what's going on in the world. So I think in the future, I don't even know what's for the future. I think in the future we just have to do better. like with communities like where I come from, of educating people of the solutions.
I feel like I completely agree. I was about to touch on that. Like, the key is education.
That's it.
Like, you just have to know. Like, you have to know and not just go off what you've heard or like how you feel. Like, I feel like the age of misinformation is so crazy right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're in like this incredible age where people are more connected than ever. People can like build little mini platforms and like touch thousands of people, and that can even happen. Like, you're like Vibe Enthusiast, the fact that you even have like 982 followers right now. Yes, I know. It's like crazy, like the fact that you're like touching people, and probably even more on real, like on a daily basis, is insane. And like, we're not taking advantage of, of that.
I'm trying to, like, so right now I'm reaching 10.3 thousand accounts.
Cool.
So 10,300 accounts.
That's pretty cool.
I think it's pretty cool too. And so I've been trying to like leverage that audience and like try to share messages of like, not only right now they're just positivity, but I do want to like begin educational videos, really like informing the public on what is going on, A, B, that there are solutions, C, there's people like us working towards a better life. So I don't know, man, like you're right, the many platforms and like using your small audience to share whatever you can is important. But yeah, the last question is like, do you think that there will be a shift in culture in the US for us to be more sustainable, or do you think like the individualism has taken over?
I do think there will be a shift, but I think by the time the shift happens, it might be too late. I feel like I had a little bit more hope and faith in people before COVID, but like COVID like shifted my perception of like the public and how we would act when a solution to an issue took everyone working together. You see what I'm saying? So when COVID hit, like honestly, like the solution was social distance, wear masks. Social distance, wear masks, get vaccinated. Social distance, wear masks, get vaccinated. Three things. We saw other countries, New Zealand, wiping it out. COVID. But I feel like specifically in America, we had this like culture of like freedom, this culture of like home of the free, land of the free, home of the brave, type thing. And like, I'm in America, I have freedom, I don't have to do what I don't want to do. And like that culture has its ups, but it has its downs. Like,
we're still dealing with the pandemic.
Yeah, we're still dealing with the pandemic to this day. And people have that mindset, like you were saying, of like individualism. And I feel like that might be our downfall.
That's real.
Like, to be completely real, like that might be our downfall. And like that's just like the embedded culture in America. Like if you look at countries like that like have historically like followed principles of like communism. Like communism is very like community oriented. It's very like one for all, for the better of the group, like not really focusing on individual gain, and things like that. And like those countries did better with COVID.
Yeah.
Period. We look at China, like they did like an immediate shutdown and like handled their issue way better with like a way larger population too. So it's very interesting. Shifting a whole culture is a tricky thing to do. And because our country is so based on like freedom, individual liberty, doing what you want, and like individualism, like you said, I feel like the only key is for people to be heavily impacted as individuals. Like I was saying, like once it starts messing with their money, that's the only way. The only way.
Yeah.
that people will like wake up as soon as doing something environmentally friendly or shifting a culture will start saving the money or making the money is when the culture will start to shift.